tagline. Credit restructuring amidst pandemic hit 700 trillion rupiah. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number from information of capital market, economic and business sectors. With me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headlines. Yes, viewer, we're going to start Market Headlines by looking at the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So JCI opened at the level of 5,123.38 and then approaching the closing time of the first session, the index was on the level of 5,098.30 and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at level 5,082.99. In short, JCI was weakening at 1.21%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement leading the dynamics of today's trading. As the leader of weakening trend, we got consumer goods going down 1.86%. Miscellaneous industry going down 1.76%. Manufacturer went down 1.47%. And next, we got finance sector also went down 1.47%. And meanwhile, the top gainers of today's trading, Kimia Pharma went up 2.62%. Friend went up 34.95%, Indopharma 11.06%, and Vale Indonesia or Inco went up 0.92%. And then the top losers for today's trading, Kalbe Pharma went down 2.79%, Bank Negara Indonesia or BBNI went down 2.12%, HM Sampurna went down 4.26%, and Bank Mandiri went down 1.76%. And next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,614. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar and was closed at the level of 14,632. In summary, rupiah was weakening at 0.37%. As net sales declined in the second half of 2020, net profit of cigarette manufacturer HM Sampurna dropped by 55%.
Throughout the first half of 2020, net sales of cigarette manufacturer HM Sampurna fell by 11.8% year-on-year to only 44.73 trillion, 11.8% year-on-year to only 44.73 trillion rupiah. The decline in the top line of the first half of this year was due to the decline in sales in the second quarter of 2020. Compared to the previous quarter, sales in the second quarter dropped by 21.81%, while in fact, in the second quarter of 2019, the company posted sales of 26.91 trillion rupiah. This performance dropped dramatically than sales in the first quarter of 2020, which only corrected 0.49%. In line with the decline in total sales, the company also recorded a decline in net profit. During April to June 2020, net profit dropped by 55.09% year-on-year to only 1.56 trillion rupiah. As a result, the company's net profit in the first half of 2020 dropped by 27.82% from 6.77 trillion rupiah to 4.89 trillion rupiah. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Unilever Indonesia recorded an increase in net sales in the first half of 2020. This sales growth was driven by an increase in domestic sales.
Unilever Indonesia recorded net sales increase of 1.5% year-on-year in the first half of 2020 to 21.77 trillion rupiah. This sales growth was driven by an increase in domestic sales by 1.5%. However, when looking at the performance in the second quarter alone, Unilever sales edged down by 1.6%, while domestic sales fell 1.2% compared to the second quarter of 2019. Unilever Indonesia Finance Director Arif Hudaya said that the second quarter of 2020 was a challenging period, especially for Unilever Food Solution units whose customers were hotels, restaurants, and cafes. Arif added that in the midst of challenging conditions, Unilever Indonesia currently focuses on health protection, safety, and welfare of employees. Meanwhile, for information, in the first quarter of 2020, Unilever Indonesia's net sales reached 11.2 trillion rupiah, while net profit reached 1.8 trillion rupiah in the period. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Stay tuned on Market Headlines. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Dukung terus koperasi dan UMKM Indonesia. Saksikan terus IDX Channel, Your Trustworthy Economic, Business and Capital Market Channel. Kita sadar betul bahwa kondisi ekonomi dunia dibayangi oleh business interruption yang belum pernah kita alami sebelumnya sebagai akibat dari pandemi global dari virus corona atau COVID-19 ini. Semua sektor usaha terkena imbasnya, tidak terkecuali sektor pariwisata yang disebabkan oleh berbagai banyak faktor, antara lain penutupan batas-batas negara, penghentian penerbangan, pelarangan perjalanan, himbauan untuk tidak meninggalkan rumah, dan himbauan untuk bekerja dari rumah, dan juga isu-isu lain untuk menghentikan penyebaran daripada virus corona ini. Namun, corona tidak akan berlangsung lama. Masyarakat rindu dan akan kembali melakukan aktivitas maupun berwisata pada masa normalnya nanti. Oleh karena itu, tetap tenang dan tidak panik, agar kita semua dapat menjaga stabilitas pasar. Perusahaan yang memiliki kinerja yang baik akan selalu diminati oleh investor, apalagi yang memiliki produk yang selalu dipakai orang, seperti pariwisata dan perjalanan. Oleh karenanya, kami terus berupaya menjaga semangat usaha dan bersiap ketika pandemi ini selesai. Industri pariwisata dapat segera bangkit dan kembali membangun ekonomi bersama sektor-sektor usaha lainnya.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. The beauty industry is growing faster than ever before, especially when we talk about fake lashes. Rising consciousness about appearance among consumers has created immense opportunity for the false eyelashes manufacturers. And don't forget about social media usage also continues to change the way consumers discover new products and engage with fake lashes brands.
Fake lashes, or falsies as millennials girls call it, is a very on the hype right now and such a trend. And behind such a trend, do you know that actually eyelash industry has a really good market size?
By 2025, the global false eyelashes market size is expected to reach $1.6 billion, and this was based on the latest data from Grandview Research. Asia Pacific is expected to remain one of the lucrative markets through 2025, exhibiting the highest CAGR of 6.6% from 2019 to 2025. Growing awareness about evolving beauty trends and availability of a new and more effective products in the country like India, China, South Korea, and Indonesia will drive the regional false lashes market.
And speaking about domestically, eyelash industry in Indonesia has a really good market size. Why? Because Statistic Indonesia just revealed the data that the population in Indonesia is dominated by women. Interesting, right? And therefore right now, I'm in the one of the largest company in eyelash business in Indonesia, which is Artisan Pro Beauty Lounge. Let's take a look inside. To get know more about potential in Indonesia's eyelash industry, and right now in here we got a chance to have a deeper discussions with the CEO of Artisan Professional. Please welcome Mr. Reza Aryabima. Hello sir, how are you?
Good.
Looking gorgeous. So I would like to ask sir, since when you open up this business?
Okay, we started in end of 2016, so it's been almost 4 years we developed Artisan Pro, but 2 or 3 years before that we also have our another brand, but we learned so much from that brand and makes us change the segment.
What's your perspective on Indonesia eyelash industry right now?
If you know well that Indonesia is known as one of the best eyelash maker in the world. Our handmade creation is known worldwide. We have buyers from US, from Europe, but they usually use their own brand. So our dreams is to, why not we bring our brand from Indonesia and occupy the global market, because we have known for years as the best eyelash maker in the world, but why don't we have our own brand to expand to the global market?
Do you think that government is supporting your business enough?
Yes.
Is there any government regulations that hamper your business? Licensing, for example.
Up until now, the government give us enough room to grow since the very first beginning, and the regulations also help us to grow even faster than before. But I think the challenge would be on the communication side between the government regulations and for us the SME players, so that we can understand, we can seek for the help from the government bodies, what certifications that we must provide, we must work on what regulations that we need to understand or to know more.
In the midst of COVID-19, which hit all sectors,
due to the lockdown regulations, the industry itself is slowing down or even delayed the activities. It almost hit us more than 50-60%. As you can see that there's no wedding allowed, there's no offline events allowed. So basically, there's no makeup artist had work to do. Also, with the pre-wedding session, the clients cannot go to abroad. They can do the photo session. So it hits us also.
do you know that government also give incentives for small medium enterprises? And do you have that kind of incentives?
Yes, we do receive the incentive, especially in the tech side. But we're still waiting on the BPJS Tenaga Kerja side, because we're still waiting for the official regulations. But for us, we do receive on the tech side.
With many of eyelash competitors in Indonesia, we can see a lot of eyelash lines in Indonesia. So what's your strategy to boost yourselves?
Number one is that we do our continuous innovation, so that makeup artists can achieve different looks, to achieve different trends. And then we work closely with the community, so we know what they need from the eyelash, so we can help them develop the eyelash that they need. We also do the branding and the marketing part, because as you can see that most of eyelash brand, they don't invest heavily on the branding, on the marketing side.
Thank you for letting us to serve into your beautiful showroom. It's really beautiful and warm as well. We hope nothing but the best for Artisan Professional to make another breakthrough. Thank you very much, sir, for your time with us. Through the warm warm conversations I had with the CEO of Artisan Pro, we can underline some things. First of all, eyelash industry in Indonesia has a really good potential. And second of all, this is a good business and prospect in the future. Thank you for staying with us, and go back to studio with Fajar Wayong.
Yes, thank you, Clara, for your coverage. And stay with us because market headlines will be right back.
Adi akan ada proyek bikin hunian atau tempat tinggal?
Konsepnya adalah membawa kemudahan masyarakat sekitar Jakarta untuk bekerja di pusat kota. Total saat ini Adik Komputer Property mengembangkan 11 titik ya. Kalau Mas baru beli sekarang mungkin udah ke 3.000 sekian pembeli.
Kita bisa mulai merasakan fase 1 di tahun berapa?
Di tahun 2021.
Hari pertama sampai hari ini kopi kenal itu profitable nih.
Luar biasa.
Untuk tahun ini kita ingin mengakhiri tahun 2020 dengan 700 gerai seluruh Indonesia.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. Indonesian Financial Services Authority, or OJK, noted that the value of credit restructuring to handle COVID-19 pandemic had reached 776.9 trillion rupiah. The total amount is given to 6.75 million debtors from 100 banks.
Indonesian Financial Services Authority, or OJK, noted that the value of credit restructuring to handle COVID-19 pandemic has reached 776.9 trillion rupiah. Based on OJK's exposure up to July 30th, the credit restructuring was divided to 328.6 trillion rupiah for MSMEs and 448.3 trillion rupiah for non-MSMEs, with a total of 6.75 million debtors. OJK added that there were 102 banks that had the potential to implement credit restructuring to 15.24 million debtors. The potential consists of 12.69 million MSME debtors, while non-MSME debtors of 2.55 million, with debts reaching 811.2 trillion rupiah.
Ini baik dari kredit UMKM ya, maupun dari sisi non-UMKM. Ini udah sampai untuk posisi 6 Juli ini 769 triliun yang sudah dilakukan restrukturisasi. Jadi dengan debitur 6,7 juta. Posisi 13 Juli tadi yang udah disampaikan Pak Ketua, ini udah sampai yang direstruktur itu adalah 776 triliun, 776,9 triliun, yaitu dengan UMKM 328,6 triliun dan juga non-UMKM 448,3 triliun dengan jumlah debitur 6,75 juta.
In addition, restructuring for finance or leasing companies until July 21, 2020 total outstanding loans reached 148.7 trillion rupiah from 4.04 million financing company customers, with a total of 183 financing companies that have restructured their customer loans. From Jakarta, Ade Firmansyah for IDX Channel. The Ministry of Finance stated that the realization of initial government bonds issuance that will be purchased by Bank of Indonesia through a burden sharing scheme will be done the soonest at the end of July 2020. The Ministry of Finance stated that the realization of initial government bonds issuance that will be purchased by Bank of Indonesia through a burden sharing scheme will be done the soonest at the end of July 2020. The ministry revealed that the signing of burden sharing scheme through a joint decree was carried out on July 7, 2020. Currently, the ministry is in the process of making a special account at the central bank for the placement of funds for the purchased bonds. The ministry also mentioned that the bonds to be issued had a tenure of 5 and 8 years, in accordance with an agreement between the ministry and the central bank. As it known, the burden sharing scheme between the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Indonesia is divided into two components: financing for public goods and non-public goods. Public goods financing is as much as 397.5 trillion rupiah will be covered by the central bank with a coupon rate of Bank of Indonesia's reverse repo rate with a private placement mechanism. While for non-public goods financing of 505.9 trillion rupiah, the central bank will bear part of the bond's interest. From all sources, IDX Channel. Meantime, for financing state budget deficit, Ministry of Finance target 900 trillion rupiah debt in second semester of 2020. The financing will use government securities auction and multilateral loan.
The government officially states that 2020 state budget deficit is expected to reach 1.034 trillion or 6.34% of gross domestic product after several high-ranking officials mentioned the figure in recent days. Specifically, in second semester, remaining debt that is supposed to be settled up reaching 900.4 trillion rupiah. As way out, debt financing will use government securities auction and multilateral loan. The number fulfilled last semester debt financing of 630 trillion rupiah.
Ini adalah sifatnya indikatif. Jadi kita akan masih memberikan SBN retail kurang lebih jumlahnya sebesar 35 sampai 40 triliun. Kita menerbitkan samurai bond, nah ini sudah eksekusi nih. Sebesar 13,5 triliun atau sebesar 100 million yen.
In addition, the Ministry of Finance will continue the plan of 2020 loan program, which has been realized for $1.8 billion. In this second semester, the Ministry of Finance will also withdraw more multilateral loans from various international institutions totaling $5.5 billion. From Jakarta, Radio Padmo for IDX Channel.
South Korea economy saw gross domestic product fall by a worse than expected number, down to 2.9% in year-on-year terms. However, this can be seen as opportunity for Indonesia, according to Economic Observer.
South Korea experienced steepest decline in gross domestic product since 1998, whereas GDP fell by a worse than expected 2.9% in year-on-year terms. Exports, which account for nearly 40% of the economy, were the biggest drag as they fell by most since 1963. However, from Indonesia's perspective, this can be advantageous. Senior economist of InDef stated that this will drag South Korean investment to Indonesia. But not only South Korea, as in recent weeks, official figures that have confirmed that both Japan and Singapore have also gone into recessions. So, many investments are expected to come to Indonesia.
Tetapi untuk Korea sendiri kita tidak terlalu besar ya. Jadi mungkin kalau dampak langsung tidak, malah menurut saya kita bisa diuntungkan dengan dia resesi, banyak nanti investasi Korea masuk ke Indonesia ya. Sekarang udah terbukti beberapa perbankan masuk ke Indonesia. Nah, itu kan juga menunjukkan bahwa potensi Indonesia masih bagus.
To maintain the economy, so far the South Korean government has implemented about 231 billion US dollar worth of stimulus measures to tackle the effects of the pandemic on its economy. From Jakarta, Adi Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
As Bank of Indonesia predicts that Indonesia will enter economic recession in the third quarter of 2020, economists of Core Indonesia predicts that the Indonesian economy in 2020 will be contracted minus 1.5% up to minus 3%. Economic pressure due to COVID-19 pandemic is predicted to continue to occur in Indonesia throughout 2020. Bank Indonesia predicts that the Indonesian economy in the third quarter will worsen and enter the recession zone. Economist of Core Indonesia, Muhammad Faisal, say that the Indonesian economic recession is clearly seen. He demands the government must be prepared to keep the economy from falling deeper. Faisal added that the government must increase people's purchasing power so that household consumption can grow. In addition, COVID-19 handling in Indonesia must be the focus of the government because the government's success in handling COVID-19 has a big impact on demand in the national market.
Di tahun 2020, Core Indonesia memprediksikan pertumbuhan kita secara full year itu akan terkontraksi antara minus 1,5 hingga minus 3%. Yang paling utama saya pikir itu adalah bagaimana mempertahankan dari sisi konsumsi rumah tangga, konsumsi domestiknya harus diredam tekanannya, ya jangan sampai terlalu dalam.
And here it is, an update data about coronavirus globally. And the graphic closed our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business, and capital market channel. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening.
Untuk informasi lebih lanjut tentang pasar modal syariah, silakan menghubungi nomor telepon 150